It's 4 p.m. and I finally had the time to read. Oh, it's 5 p.m. Oh wow. 5 5:01. I finally had the time to read today. So today we are reading lesson 4. The goal is to show up and read one chapter a day, even with my busy schedule. So lesson 4 says hire with caution, fire without regrets. It took me nearly 10 years to find the right CEO for my business empire. I expect that puts me in a good position to talk authoritatively about hiring and firing. Yes, I mishired several times until I finally got it right. I never gave up, and when I got it right, the system began to run smoothly, independently of me. I had peace of mind knowing that the right person is at the wheel is one of the most satisfying experience an entrepreneur can have. There are three feasible ways to recruit. One, advertising. You can take a transparent formal approach by advertising openings and giving everybody a chance to compete. You can then pick the best person to fill the position, or you can engage a professional agency to recruit for you. This will come at a cost, but you can expect a good field of candidates. Either way, be wary of people who talk a good game during an interview but fail to deliver once they are on board. They may be great interviewees, but they won't be good employees. Two, referrals. There are no shortage of recommendations and referrals circulating in business circles, chiefly by word of mouth. While this is cost effective and probably saves time compared to open system, there is no guarantee that a person will prove to be the best choice. People make recommendations for all the right reasons, but they could also be driven by wanting to do a favor for someone. It may even be you doing someone a favor, trying to establish or consolidate commercial, social, or political relationship. You may end up with a profit an an influence peddler who will be out of control because they know a key client. Three, headhunting. You can decide to headhunt. You, your staff, friends, or associates can identify a particular individual and go all out to convince them to join your company. Targeted recruitment could originate with a recommendation, but merit the candidate's proven skills, attributes, and track record should be an overriding consideration. Headhunting is usually focused on your competitors' employees, in which case the candidate will already have a good knowledge of the sector. The target may not be actively seeking to move to another job, so you could have your work cut out for you in trying to lure them to your corner. You should be ready to pay a premium. You can't expect to attract top talent away from their job just like that. Headhunting does not always yield the desired result. It's a gamble, but when things work out, it can pay off in a big way. My experience with recruiting, hiring, and firing has quite a, a lot to teach anyone interested in looking at it closely. How I pushed Akinfemiwa from Oando. My best recruitment ever, Akinfemiwa, the CEO who helped turn 40 Oil into a world-class company. I paid a premium to push him from Oando PLC after a colleague had recommended him. It involved a combination of two recruitment options: word of mouth, recommendation, and headhunting. I had a short phone conversation with Akin after we were introduced. A year later, he started working for me. That was in 2006. I put him in charge of Fine Shade Energy Limited, an energy trading company in London. His performance blew my mind. I moved him back to Nigeria in 2009 and appointed him Group Chief of Operating Officer of Xenon. He became the CEO of 40 at the end of the year 2011. Before finding him, I had recruited a woman from Habib Bank based on recommendation. She clearly could not do the job. I then decided to go get a trade from BP, but she proved too frustrating to work with. Neither of them provided any direction. That all changed the day Akin came on board. I learned several lessons from recruiting this powerhouse leader. One of the lessons: do due diligence before hiring. I learned early on that it pays to really research the candidate before hiring. I go extra mile to root out as much as I can about an individual. These days, with a rich way of digital resources at your disposal, you can quickly get information on anybody. You first assess the vacancy, work up a job description and hiring timeline, schedule an interview, and work through a short list of candidates who would be a good fit. Once you zero in on a likely target, you initiate intelligence gathering. What sort of person is he or she? Is there something about their record that doesn't sit well with you? After giving them the job, put them on probation for a few months. That gives you the opportunity to observe their performance, read their character, and further assess their suitability. Therefore, my recruitment process doesn't end when the engagement letter is issued. I monitor the new employee. I keep an eye close to the ground. I ask people around them to give me a reading on their conduct and character. I don't like working with people who are too laid back or too forward, those who lack focus or don't take their careers too seriously, or individuals who are just plain arrogant. I don't want employees who are busybodies. I don't want those who try to brag that they are close to the boss. All these are deal breakers for me. The mistakes I made in the past taught me several lessons. I learned how not to do things. The experience was not a waste. In any sense, I have no regrets, because working through all this helped me identify what works for me and my interests. 2. Recruiting by referrals is a disservice to the business. Truth be told, recruitment is one of the most challenging aspects of running a company, especially the way I used to do it. To get the right resources to help you implement your vision, you need efficient process. No matter your recruitment style, I never had a proper human resources structure until I bought African Petroleum PLC, which I later rebranded to 40 Oil PLC. The organization did professional recruitment and I was central to it. Earlier at Center Force and Zeno, I employed people mostly based on referrals and did not follow the tried and true rules of recruitment. Referrals, and I did not follow the tried and true rules of recruitment. At Xenon, my initial strategy was to get people knowledgeable in the business of selling petroleum products. I could not force myself to go through the tedious process of opening recruitment. Every new hire was based on word of mouth recommendations. I would just put out the word that I was looking for someone to fill the particular vacancy, and somebody would bring in a candidate. I would then choose whom to employ based on a sense of trust. If I can see that word in a broad sense, this was an enormous disservice to the business. It's not going to be easy to get the right candidate this way. People will simply stare their friends and dependents to you. They will send their cousins, brothers, sisters, nephews, and hangers on and tell you they are suitable for the job. It's not until you bring them in and put them to work that you realize they have dumped on you. Xenon acquired a lot of dead weight in that way, which I eventually realized was haunting the company. It also did not help that many of these recruits came in through people I knew. These employees felt like they deserved special treatment. 3. Senior management should have a proven track record, integrity, and loyalty. In my experience, the recruitment of executives should not be subject to sentimentality of any kind. The focus should be on identifying an individual with a proven record in your line of business. The attributes of a personal integrity and loyalty are also important. Positions such as CEO, COO, and CFO cannot be filled based on emotions and relationships. The chief executive, for instance, must certainly have managed people and resources before preferable a big company. What business have they run? Where did they take the company? How have they dealt with the crisis? How innovative and creative are they? What are their values? Do they take pride in their work? Do they have reputation for honesty and integrity? If there are any gaps in these credentials, think twice before installing them in your company's most important positions. 4. Let a financial savvy professional get you a CFO. If you are borrowing heavily to finance your business, I have nothing against allowing the bank to appoint the CFO for you. This is not a typical recruitment method, but it is one way of putting yourself in check and allowing the banks to feel secure that their money is being managed. It is a way of telling them you have nothing to hide. No bank will dislike the idea. It's happened at 40 Oil. I invited Segun Agbaji, the head of GT Bank, to nominate our CFO. I interviewed the candidate, Julius Omodayo Owutuga, found him to be a straight shooter and gave him the job. Your lenders will suffer heavily if your business collapses. They are the major stakeholders. It is in their interest for the company to run well, and by allowing them to nominate CFO, you will be reassuring them that their money is safe with you. Yes, there is fear that such a CFO may undermine you and work for the bank instead. For this reason, you should also have an internal auditor to provide a series of checks and balances. Indeed, Nigerian banks are in the habit of taking liberties with customers' money. They will overcharge interest and try to confuse you over what you have paid and what is outstanding. Many companies find it challenging to keep track of the details with their banks. In that regard, having a CFO from a bank is risky because of the danger of collusion. That is why your internal audit unit must be alert and diligent. At 40 Oil, we did not find any manipulation by the CFO. He was our inside partner looking out for our best interest. Wow. Okay. How I fire. I have never fired any employee and then regretted it. If there is justification for them getting the sack, there is no need to regret anything. Before I take any action, I think it through and assess the decision based on my principles. I may sack someone over the phone or do it in an instant, but I was never hasty in the sense of being rash. I am also aware that there are intrigues among employees, jealousy and backbiting and politics, with one wanting to ease the other out so that they can become the boss. I've also been conscious of this. However, once I have my facts and I am convinced that that's it, you are gone. As mentioned, some candidates can talk a good game, but the problem starts with doing the job after you have engaged them. I remember recruiting a particular Xenon CEO. I was excited about because he demonstrated excellent knowledge of the industry. Before I hired him, he had approached me with suggestions that the company should get into engine oil. Being a chemical engineer, he had a background in engine oil production. When he came on board, I took his advice and we launched Xenon engine oil. I gave him customers, but nothing came of it. He was all talk and no action. As Xenon, I fired as I deemed necessary. But with a public company like 40 Oil, there must be a board meeting with directors voting on your wish to fire the CEO. That was a different ball game altogether. Fight to get exceptional people on board. In headhunting, you must be aggressive. There was nobody I really wanted who I didn't fight for, and I eventually hired most, no matter how long it took me. When I was starting Xenon and I asked Tunde Babson, the manager of Flame Petroleum, to come join me, his first response was an empathetic no. I also headhunted Joel Tunde Falisino from Total to be APCOO. I tried to head on Tokumbo Omusu, the Honeywell Oil and Gas for Xenon, but he returned me down. There was also some guys from Wando PLC, Chevron, Texaco, and the Mobil Oil who said no. Some were afraid they were going to leave a structured environment for a less formal one. What they did not factor into their thinking was that they could come and help me structure the business, which was what Akin did. Because of him, KPMG and PwC were later retained to manage recruitment for 40. Most of those who turned me down ended up saying they wish they did join me. I always told them it was their choice. I did not feel slighted in any way. I just thought they missed an excellent opportunity and I owed it to my company to go after the very best people. When the fit is not perfect, experiment. We had 4 CEOs in 3 years at AP and 7 CEOs in 10 years at Xenon. One of the reasons I never gave up on trying to recruit the right chief executive was that there was a bank debt on the side. I wanted to succeed so I could repay the banks and take the business to the highest level possible. I had to run a relay race. Management-wise, you pass the baton if you don't see anyone to hand it to. So they can keep it going. You continue the race by yourself. The baton must not stop moving forward. AP had several CEOs before we rebranded. When I took over the company as chairman, Madam Zira Margedi was the CEO. He worked with me for a few months until the third quarter of 2007. He had been instrumental in my buying the business, and I saw that he could also help me with the transition phase from the old AP to the new AP. After him, I brought Joel Tunde Falasino in from Total to become COO from the third quarter of 2007 through the quarter of 2009. It is a fascinating story. I used to sell diesel to Total in 2003. I told Tunde, you are going to work for me when I acquire all these major marketers, right? He laughed. It was an audacious statement. I was a diesel seller running an upstart company and already and already talking about buying a major downstream enterprise. After I did purchase AP, I had a meeting with Tunde in Abuja. Come and run the company, I said. He declined. I offered him a handsome financial package, and in the end, he agreed to work for me the next 2 years. In quick session after Magadi and Falicino, I brought in Mike Ahmed as COO, who served in the role from the third quarter of 2009 until December 2011, and Aki as a CEO, who did so spectacularly well in leading the rebrand of 40 Oil PLC. In Xenon 1999 to 2009 run, my CEOs included Biola Ogunrobi, Pastor Ore Tope Paul, Dr. Adeyinka Akimbami, Steve Kati, Idewu Adebowale, Viola Babalola, and Akin Femiwa. Subheading: about staff honesty and loyalty. What makes me fire people? Dishonesty is the primary offense. Indiscipline is another. Greed and selfishness are also high on the list. No matter how competent you are, the moment I uncover an act of deception, you are gone. How can you and I be in a room sitting across each other and discussing the fortunes of the company when I know you are a common criminal in shirt and tie? It would be impossible for me to keep you as an employee. Most of the people who are fired were not upright individuals. Dishonesty, which stems from disloyalty, warrants immediate dismissal. Loyalty should be a significant consideration in filing position. We all tend to look at competence, which is non-negotiable, by the way, but a competent manager who is disloyal will still ruin your company. In my experience, loyalty is not a function of how long someone has worked for you. Either the time they have been with you can certainly be an indicator, as you know that these people who have grown with the company and shown commitment, that's good, and it makes you more comfortable. However, loyalty can show up very early in a employee's tenure as well. They don't need to have worked for you for a full year before you spot it. How does loyalty work? Loyal employees do not undermine you or the company. They don't badmouth or criticize you in front of others. When there are things they disagree with, they will find a way of telling you privately. They watch out for you and the business. They go extra mile to make things right. They never seek to take advantage of you or the system. Instead, they want to see how the company can go, how you can position it better in the market, and how to cut costs. They are ready to forgo their own comfort and privileges when necessary. They place the company above personal interest. If they want to leave for whatever reason, they will brush the subject with you in confidence. Disloyalty is not dismissal to a cancer that will spread far and wide to ruin an organization. I had a CEO who snuck around behind us to ask one of our biggest client not to buy diesel from Xenon, explaining that he had his own company that could supply them instead. How could you keep such a manager in your business, let alone your CEO? It will make more sense to shut down your company and apply to work for his. There are people out there who will do anything to grow their own business on the side and chase you out of the market, all the while standing with you and smiling. If you don't know what they are doing behind your back, you will wake up one day to discover that you don't have a business anymore. How to assess loyalty in an interview. I value loyalty because I want to be sure my employees have my back. I want to be sure I can rely on them. I think every human being wants to feel confident they are working with people who will look out for their interests. I always look for loyalty in addition to competence. It is said that loyalty is a value while competence is a skill. So it is by no means a matter of either or. You can train to acquire a skill, but a value is a personal ethic which is not malleable. Getting both competence and loyalty in a new employee is the ultimate dream. Then you can sleep with both eyes shut, knowing you are in good hands. Unfortunately, you cannot gauge loyalty at the recruitment stage. There is a level of faith or trust required in deciding to engage or not. Still, there are some signs to watch out for at the interview. A quick look at someone's CV will reveal how many places the candidate has worked at and how long they have stayed on each job. There may be a red flag there, but that cannot be conclusive. People change their jobs for various reasons. Perhaps they are not overly motivated, or the company is too limiting. Maybe they are looking for a place where they can express their aptitude with a sense of fulfillment. Asking a few simple questions in an interview setting and watching the person's body language can be revealing. You can ask why they keep changing jobs. Although you may not be able to verify their claims, a truthful candidate is more likely to answer a probing question quickly and confidently. An untruthful person will take their time, biting their lip and stammering on simple and straightforward issues. As they think about what to say, the way they speak about their previous work and bosses can give something away about their character. If you see signs of disrespect towards past employees, especially if it's with more than one, this is a concern. Most principled employees would avoid badmouthing even those who deserve it to a stranger. How I noticed things were off. I have had varied experiences with employees. I once had a senior executive who came highly recommended. I gave him a new car. The day after he got the car, he started misbehaving. He was chasing women and relaxing in my living room as if he were on a boat cruise. I asked him to go. I also had an employee who was too forward. Anytime we visited my Millennium Fest, he would be the first to sit down before the rest of us. One felt too big to help my family out with an assignment, and to me, that's a sign of disloyalty because he had gained from me far beyond what was his due. Little things like that get to me. My key staffing mistake at Xenon was that employees were brought to me by others. I didn't follow industry standard recruitment procedures or work with professional recruiters. I just put out the word that I was looking for a team, and the folks started showing up at my doorstep. This was not a good move. I tried to assess people to get a handle on their personality. If anyone attempted to carry my bag, I was always suspicious. That was a little too kissing up for me. Although in African culture, doing so may show that you respect your boss, I remain suspicious all the same. One manager I hired came from for the interview on a motorbike taxi. I did not do much due diligence before giving him the job because I respected the person who did recommend him. A car came with the job, and shortly after that, I was looking out for my office window when he drove in. Someone opened the door for him, another held his jacket, and yet another person carried his bag. He strode in majestically just 2 weeks into the job. That is what power, or a twisted sense of it, can do to people. Number Subheading: How I test employees. As noted, I continually sizing up employees. When they come to my office, I may test them by giving them a sandwich. Instead of going off quietly to enjoy, some will go around bragging to others that I did give them a gift. I find out about this through low-key intelligence. You cannot trust such person with a sensitive information. The sandwich test showed me who could be trusted and who would be likely to sell information to competitors. My not being very formal had many advantages, but the downside was that there was no camaraderie or teamwork among the staff. It was everyone for themselves. Everybody was trying to be the boss' good graces to the detriment of the team dynamic. Why my employees rarely leave. Overall, I would say I am a reasonable employer. I don't want people to work 24/7. I'm quite considerate in that regard. I believe people should only work 8 hours at a stretch. Everything after that is eye service, which I can't stand. What am I doing that I cannot finish in 8 hours? Day. I can understand that some deadlines require extra hustle, but this doesn't happen every day. Remarkably, when people work with me, they rarely want to leave. Many tell me they are likely having a relationship with me and that I'm not too bossy. I'm not bossy. I do not expect to be treated like royalty, and I don't expect them to carry my bag or jacket. They also say I engage with them on their level. Of course, they are well compensated, pulling in above average, paying the fringe benefits. I buy cars and houses for them and pay school fees and medical bills for those who take their job seriously. When you do what makes your staff happy, those who have values reciprocate. I also enjoy good relationship with my former employees. Many of them are still my friends. I'm comfortable calling them and asking them to help me out with things. Takeaways: when you want to hire, what qualities do you look for? If you had to choose between competence and loyalty, think about what you would settle for. I made several mistakes in recruitment. I did not engage HR professionals and was too busy doing people favors. Once I got it right, I started really cruising along. Hiring and firing must be handled properly. So that's lesson 4 for today. See you guys tomorrow.